It's the tune of the month. I'm so glad you found me. I'm Shannon Heaton, and every month I give you a new tune to learn. For 2018, I'm going to feature tunes from my Irish Music Stories podcast. This is the show about traditional music and the bigger stories behind it. Also, I'm going to play the tune first, and then I'll get into teaching it. Hope this is helpful. Hope you enjoy, and thanks so much for tuning in to the tune of the month. Hi folks! So good to be here. The tune of the month has experienced a few minor setbacks, mostly time management and a few technical snafus which should be resolved by next month. So for this month we're going to carry on and busk through with gear on hand. Please pardon the lack of crystalline sound fidelity that you've come to expect in these productions. So for this month I had a request for The Coming of Spring. That's a great tune by Patty O'Brien. It's also not in the public domain, so I've not the time nor the patience to deal with clearance. I'm going to stick with a tune from O'Neill's Music of Ireland, which is most certainly in the public domain, still on the spring theme. This is a tune called The Spring Well, and it's a tune that you will recognize. It sounds a lot like the Kesh Jig. It's probably what the Kesh Jig grew out of. So here is The Spring Well. I'll play it. I'll break it down phrase by phrase, then I'll talk a little bit more about learning tunes out of O'Neill's. 1, 2, 1, 2. So here's the tune phrase by phrase. I'll play a phrase and give you just enough time to sing or to play the phrase back. All right, that's the A part of the tune. Take all the time you need to learn it phrase by phrase. And here's the B part of the tune. All right, when you find a tune in O'Neill's Music of Ireland, you know that it's an old tune. This was published in 1903 by Captain Francis O'Neill, who was the chief of police in Chicago at the turn of the last century. He was a flute player, and he was hearing all of these tunes that players around the city were bringing from different parts of Ireland, their own family favorites. Of course, each player had his or own handful of family favorites. And all of those favorites may have been lost if not for the efforts of O'Neill with a few helpers to transcribe the tunes. So when you look at a tune that you might know today, and you look up the version in O'Neill's, you might discover that in fact that version is a little different than what we play today. Might be because the tune has evolved. It's a living tradition. It's a game of telephone. After 100 years of passing it on, it's bound to change. It might also be that the person transcribing the tune took a few liberties, and it might also be that the person who played the tune for the transcriber, that's the way that he or she played it on that day. So it can be a great exercise to go to O'Neill's, take a tune that you've already learned, see how it appears in the book. That's a really wonderful use of this incredible encyclopedia of music. This is not necessarily a book to just open up and start playing one after another, tune after tune, although I suppose you could do that too. But it's an incredible reference source as well. And that is the thing about sheet music in Irish music. This is an oral tradition. We pass on this music orally. But the cool thing is transcriptions can help you remember what you know, and they can be a useful reference when you want to hear older versions of tunes or just compare versions of tunes. So there's some information for you. Do what you will with it, and thanks so much for tuning in. See you next month at the Tune of the Month.